Transmigrating as the younger sister of a bigshot with multiple identities. Chapter 1, the fake daughter of a big guy in a vest. Chapter 1, the fake younger sister dressed as a big man in a vest. Gu Jin, why are you so vicious? You know that Yang Yang has hemophilia, and even if you scratch her skin, she will bleed profusely, and you deliberately pushed her down the stairs. The real daughter of the Gu family can only be Yang Yang. You don't know anything. Isn't it enough for the Gu family to take you back to enjoy the blessings? If something happens to Yang Yang today, you will immediately go back to your rural orphanage. Gu Yang woke up to the loud and angry voice of the woman beside him. His slender eyelashes moved slightly, and what he saw when he opened his eyes was the elegant and luxuriously decorated living room of the villa. At this moment, she was leaning in the arms of a young lady, and the lady was pointing at the girl at the corner of the opposite staircase with a sullen face and angrily reprimanded her. Gu Yang felt dizzy in his head, the back of his head and some parts of his body were aching, and he didn't understand what was going on for a while. Suddenly, a cold feeling came from the back of the head, accompanied by a slight tingling pain. She subconsciously reached out to touch it. The hand was grabbed, and a gentle voice came from behind, "Don't touch it." The voice is gentle, but there is a bit of coolness, like a spring breeze. The lady who supported her looked at her with concern, and her voice softened. "Yang Yang, Dr. G is disinfecting your wound." After Dr. G bandaged Gu Yang to stop the bleeding, he went through the medicine cabinet and said gently, "Mrs. Gu, Ling Qianjin has lost too much blood and needs a blood transfusion. But it is said that Ling Qianjin has golden blood, and you know that this blood type is special. There is no blood bank for this blood type. Normal people won't lose too much blood if their head is smashed, but Gu Yang suffers from hemophilia, so after being injured, he will bleed continuously and lose blood very quickly." Madame Gu turned her head and told the nanny, "Go and bring Feng Ju here." Soon, the nanny brought a thin boy in a white shirt. He came out of the twilight, as if walking out of an ink painting scroll, unstained, noble and clean. He stood in front of Gu Yang with his head down, his broken hair slightly covered his eyes, his face was fair and clean, his facial features were exquisite, his soft lips were slightly pursed, he looked very beautiful and well-behaved. He raised his eyes and glanced at Gu Yang. Those eyes were as clean and clear as still water, but they were covered with a layer of mist. Gu Yang used to be a psychiatrist, but without any judgment at this moment, she seemed to read the silence of stagnant water and despairing loneliness behind the mist, like a dying old man who spent his whole life on the watch in despair. How could a teenager in his prime give her such a feeling? Is she wrong? When Gu Yang wanted to investigate further, he found that the boy had already moved his eyes away. He stood there, bright red blood flowing from his end through the transfusion set into her body. Gu Yang noticed that the back of the boy's white hands were densely covered with needle holes, which was shocking to watch. At this very moment, countless images of this beautiful boy being stabbed with a needle appeared in her mind, and a memory that did not belong to her rushed into her mind. Gu Jin, Feng Ju, living blood bank, true and false daughter, hemophilia. It took a long time for Gu Yang to digest the fact that she, who had just inherited billions of dollars, was wearing a book. She transmigrated into the false daughter sister of the heroine of the novel about the true and false daughter in the vest that she just read. It is the kind of green tea female supporting role who is elegant and noble on the surface, but in fact has no shame in occupying the magpie's nest. Also has the same name as her. And the one who is still carelessly playing with her mobile phone at the corner of the stairs is her half-sister Gu Jin, the leading heroine with many beautiful roads and vests in the text. End of this chapter. Transmigrating as the younger sister of a bigshot with multiple identities. Chapter 2, so insane. Chapter 2 is too insane. The fair and beautiful young man standing in front of her now is the royal blood bank that the Gu family found for her. Yuan suffered from hemophilia since childhood, and had extremely rare golden blood. It took a lot of effort for the Gu family to find an orphan with golden blood type, namely Feng Ju. It is said that Feng Ju was adopted, but in fact it is a living blood bank that treats him as the original body. Feng Ju lives under the fence, and his status in the Gu family is not as good as that of a servant, but he doesn't complain a word. Instead, Yuanshan used to him with needles every now and then to vent his anger on him. Gu Yang looked at Feng Ju in front of him with pity. Too insane. What an obedient and beautiful young man, even Nanny Rong couldn't do it, but the original body was able to do it. Moreover, she remembered that Feng Ju, a small blood bank in the original book, later became a friend of the big villain. In order to help Feng Ju vent his anger, the big villain not only contributed to the bankruptcy of the Gu family, but also broke Yuan's 10 fingers. 10 fingers connected to heart, it hurts just thinking about it. Thinking that all these might happen to him, Gu Yang felt that she should take pity on him. She was the one who died the worst. Look at the current situation. Not long ago, Gu's father, Gu Xiaoming, accidentally found Gu Jin, who looked very similar to his late grandmother's young photos when he was on a business trip. He sent someone to take Gu Jin's hair for a paternity test, and found that Gu Jin was his own daughter. Although Gu Xiaoming is a top quality, he is a top quality who is afraid of his wife and loves his wife. He has never fooled around outside, so naturally there is no illegitimate daughter. So Gu Jin can only be born to Gu Xiaoming and Gu's mother Yuan Shuling. Afterwards, Father Gu asked Yuanshen and Yuan Shuling to do a paternity test, and after the results came out, it was confirmed that Gu Jin and Yuanshen were indeed in the wrong relationship. However, they felt that Gu Jin lived in the country, was barbaric and ignorant, and if she was named the daughter of the Gu family, it would embarrass the Gu family. On the contrary, the elders of Jincheng's wealthy family said that they were children from other people's families. They were elegant, sensible, versatile, and had good grades, which made them look good. And compared to Gu Jin, who just came back, they naturally prefer the original body that they have raised for 17 years. After all, I have been raising it for so long, even if I have a dog, I have feelings for it. Although Gu Jin was brought back, but after the green tea in the original body, Gu's father and mother agreed, and kept Gu Yang's identity as the daughter of the Gu family, and did not announce Gu Jin's identity as the real daughter, and only raised her as an adopted daughter in the Gu family. Yuanshen completely stole Gu Jin's identity, but still felt a sense of crisis, fearing that others would know that she was a fake daughter. Even if she planned to make Gu's father and mother hate Gu Jin, it was best to drive Gu Jin away. So I designed the one just now. Yuanshen deliberately provoked Gu Jin when he came down the stairs, and then deliberately pretended to be pushed down by Gu Jin in front of Yuan Shuling, and fell down the stairs. In the original book, the design of the original body really aroused the disgust of Yuan Shuling and the Gu family towards Gu Jin. However, Gu Jin still slapped the original body in the face in the end, proving his innocence. Although the original body deliberately chose the monitoring blind spot to frame Gu Jin, but he did not expect that Gu Jin's phone was always in video recording mode. Gu Yang's eyeballs rolled slightly. Although she framed the heroine at the beginning of the game, used the villain as a blood bank, and offended all the decent villains, but she hasn't finished framing her, and the blood bank hasn't finished squeezing it. Maybe, there is still a chance of redemption. Gu Yang was lowering his head and thinking about it, when he heard Yuan Shuling's angry and cold voice, "Gu Jin, why don't you come over and apologize to your sister?" She raised her eyes, only to realize that Gu Jin, who was leaning on the handrail of the stairs, was now leaning on the opposite sofa. Gu Jin was wearing a black suspender dress, and the light hit her body, her complexion became colder and paler. Her posture was still lazy, and she was sliding her phone carelessly. End of this chapter. Transmigrating as the younger sister of a Bigshot with multiple identities. Chapter 3, Why doesn't Little Green Tea play cards according to the routine? Chapter 3, Why Little Green Tea doesn't play cards according to the routine. She looks very good looking, like a fallen angel, with a holiness in her charm. Especially her pair of eyes, deep and sharp, as if the whirlpool could swallow the soul, and seem to be able to see through everything. It's not necessary. I didn't push her. Hearing Yuan Shuling's words, Gu Jin just laughed casually and answered concisely. What a country girl, barbaric and hard to train, who doesn't stand up well, sits down well, and has no education. Yuan Shuling cursed in a low voice, very dissatisfied with Gu Jin. The blood transfusion was over, and Dr. Ji, who was packing the medicine box, suddenly looked at Yuan Shuling with a gentle voice, "Mrs. Gu, since Ms. Gu Jin said so, there must be some evidence to prove her innocence. Why don't you communicate with her patiently?" "Really? Miss Gu Jin?" Dr. Ji looked at Gu Jin, and blinked at her from an angle that others couldn't see. "Boss. Take out the video and slap that little green tea in the face." As an outsider, Gu Yang naturally knew that Dr. Ji's name was Ji Linbai, the behind-the-scenes dean of Jinqing First People's Hospital, and one of Gu Jin's younger brothers. His majestic dean will personally come to Gu's house for a consultation today, and it is also because of Gu Jin's face. Gu Yang knows that the face-slapping plot that readers want to see will soon come. So, she stood up first, held Wan Shuling's hand and said, "Mom, my sister didn't push me, I stepped on the air and fell down by myself. She doesn't want to be slapped in the face." Wan Shuling frowned, and became even more annoyed at Gu Jin. "Gu Jin, look at it now, Yang Yang has already excused you, can't you act like a big sister?" Gu Jin just looked at Gu Yang and didn't speak, but Ji Linbai was going to be furious, but he wanted to continue to maintain his image of a gentle doctor, so he could only keep scolding Gu Yang's little green tea from the bottom of his heart and even thought he was retreating. Enter. Just when Ji Lin was so angry that he wanted to grab his boss's phone and play a video to hit Gu Yang in the face. Gu Yang said seriously, "Mom, I didn't excuse my sister. At that time, my sister's mobile phone was recording. If you don't believe me, watch the video on her mobile phone." Gu Jin's fingers paused slightly, and she looked at Gu Yang with dark eyes, full of surprise. Ji Linbai. Fuck. Why didn't little green tea play cards according to the routine this time? And how does she know that the boss usually turns on the video recording mode on his mobile phone? Even Feng Ju, who sat obediently and had a very low sense of presence, looked at Gu Yang a few more times. Wan Shuling looked at Gu Jin suspiciously when she heard the words, seeing that Gu Yang's eyes were serious and he spoke with style, she reluctantly believed it. She didn't look up Gu Jin's video, and couldn't hold back to apologize to Gu Jin, a junior, but just warned with a cold face, "Since Yang Yang has said so, I don't care about it. But you'd better not hit me wrong in the future. Make up your mind." She greeted Ji Lin with tea again. Ji Linbai gave Gu Yang a sneaky look before leaving, but he met Gu Yang's eyes. Ji Linbai staggered, nearly falling over. Gu Yang smiled slightly. "Dr. Ji is gone." Ji Linbai. This little green tea must be on purpose. She must be very proud now. I didn't expect her rank to be so high, to resolve the crisis first. Next time he will definitely help the boss slap her in the face. Ji Linbai left, and the nanny took Feng Ju out. Gu Yang went over and stopped her. "Aunt Li, why are you taking Feng Ju out at such a late hour?" She remembered that Aunt Li never brought in the small blood bank just now. Sister Li looked at Gu Yang with a complicated expression. "Miss, have you forgotten that not long ago, Master Feng Ju spilled your skin care products, and you punished Master Feng Ju to sleep outside in the greenhouse?" Feng Ju lowered his eyes and said nothing, looking very cute. But it just happened to be like this. Let Gu Yangming know that it was none of his business, but he still felt guilty. She just remembered that there was indeed such a thing. The set of skin care products was given by Yuan Chen's cousin, and Yuan Chen liked it very much. Before she could use it, she was spilled by the small blood bank. Yuan Chen got angry and asked Feng Ju to move out of the villa and live in the greenhouse in the yard. End of this chapter. Transmigrating as the younger sister of a Bigshot with multiple identities. Chapter 4, so cute. Chapter 4, so good. Yuan is the group favorite in the Gu family, and her decision is mostly dictated by her father and mother, and they also feel that they must teach Feng Ju a lesson. The greenhouse is mainly used by Gu Xiaoming to raise delicate and famous flowers. It is very spacious inside and can accommodate a person to lay the floor. However, there are various types of flowers, and the sealed greenhouse may lack oxygen, so it is not good for people to live in it. Moreover, it is too much to not live in this good villa and let the floor be used. Gu Yang wanted to restore his image at the small blood bank, lest his big villain friend cut off her 10 fingers in the future, so he said in a gentle tone, "What I said last time was just angry words, so I don't care what Ah Ju says. My brother, how can he live in a greenhouse? Let him go back to his room and sleep." Aunt Li. So Master Feng Ju has been living in the greenhouse for almost a week, and the lady only found out today? Feng Ju looked up at Gu Yang in surprise. "Thank you, sister." The voice is shy and soft, like a puppy. So good. Gu Yang couldn't help but tiptoed and touched Feng Ju's head. After touching it, her face was slightly hot, and she went upstairs as if nothing had happened. Feng Ju was absent-minded for a moment, looking at Gu Yang's back. His eyes seemed to be flashing with emerald greens, and the hand hanging on the side couldn't help but tighten slightly. The bedrooms of Gu Yang and others are all on the second floor, those of Gu Jin and Gu Yang are on the left side of the stairs, and those of Gu Pei and Feng Ju are on the right side of the stairs. After closing the door, Gu Yang looked at the surroundings, the furnishings, and himself in the mirror. The girl in the mirror is wearing a warm white chiffon dress, with long black and thick hair hanging down to her waist. The complexion is as white as creamy fat, and the skin texture is moist and delicate like a fresh lychee. The misty eyebrows are painted lightly, stretching like blue daisy in distant mountains, the eyes are clear and agile like water, the bridge of the nose is straight, and the lips are pink and tender, just like the peach blossoms in March. Is undoubtedly beautiful. Different from the black rose-like evil and cold temperament of the heroine, the original body looks gentle and elegant in appearance, and she is indeed the favorite lady of the elders. Gu Yang is very satisfied with such a cute and gentle appearance. Before transmigrating into the book, she was a daughter of a top-notch family. She looked gentle and ladylike on the outside, and was very pleasing to the elders. But in fact, her character is not soft, but rather rebellious. Otherwise, he would not evade the arrangement given to him by his family, and instead of inheriting the company as the president, he would instead become a psychiatrist out of interest. However, what she didn't expect was that after his father left, he still left all the family property to her to inherit, but he didn't give his beloved illegitimate son a single cent. Now that she is dead, the family property is probably in the hands of the illegitimate son. She suspected that the illegitimate child was responsible for her death. Gu Yang thought about things in and out of the book all night, and couldn't sleep all night. The morning sun shines through the window lattice. Before the dining table, there was a stylishly dressed young woman holding Wan Shuling's arm and talking, looking very intimate. She glanced across the dining table at Gu Jin, who was playing with her mobile phone and drinking coffee, and said with a coquettish smile, "Auntie, is this the adopted daughter of your family? I heard that she is from the country, and she doesn't seem to understand the rules. Listen," she said. She pushed her cousin down the stairs last night. Is she okay now? Recalling what happened last night, Wan Shuling's face darkened. Yang is fine. Gu Jin would only embarrass her. Fortunately, it was not announced that she was the real daughter of the Gu family. "Auntie, look how obedient Xiao Ju is. This is all under the fence of others, how can there be such a big gap?" The young woman looked at Feng Ju, who was sitting there obediently, then looked at Gu Jin and shook her head. End of this chapter. Transmigrating as the younger sister of a Bigshot with multiple identities. Chapter 5, It's Not Fair to My Sister. Chapter 5, This is Unfair to My Sister. Feng Ju and Gu Jin both raised their eyes, glanced at each other, and did not speak. Before going downstairs, Gu Yang heard the voice from downstairs, saw the woman holding Wan Shuling's arm, and some information appeared in his mind. Ruan Yan, 20 years old, the second lady of the second bedroom of the Ruan family in Jincheng, is also an entertainer in the entertainment industry. Ruan Yan was originally an illegitimate daughter, and her mother was also Uncle Ruan's lover outside. A few years ago, Uncle Ruan's original spouse died, and the mother and daughter were brought back to the Ruan family. The Gu family focuses on entertainment media, and Zhaofeng Entertainment, one of the 4 major entertainment companies in China, belongs to the Gu family. So when Ruan Yan made her debut, she also signed with Gu's company. In fact, before Ruan Yan, Ruan Chu, the eldest daughter of the second room of the Ruan family, was already an entertainer of Zhaofeng Entertainment. The mistress and the original partner's daughter are naturally confronting each other, and the villains have similar tastes, so the relationship between the original body and Ruan Yan is better than that with Ruan Chu. But as far as Gu Yang is concerned, she naturally does not like illegitimate children and so on. "Cousin, you are here, my aunt and I just talked about you." Ruan Yan was very enthusiastic towards Gu Yang. After all, many of her resources in the entertainment industry were obtained by Gu Yang in front of Gu's father. "Really? What did cousin Ruan Yan and mother say about me?" Gu Yang's attitude was still gentle. But Ruan Yan frowned slightly, feeling a slight change. The Ruan family only had 2 daughters, she and Ruan Chu. Gu Yang and Wan Chu had a bad relationship and only regarded her as a cousin, so they always called her cousin. Wan Yen concealed her strangeness, and glanced at Gu Jin, who was slowly drinking porridge. I just said that your adopted daughter is a white-eyed wolf, and she pushed you down the stairs. I heard that you lost a lot of blood. I said, this is murder for money, and she should be sent to the police. Gu Jin's expression didn't change. Of course her face didn't change. The adopted daughter was not talking about her, she was the real daughter. Gu Yang gently stirred the preserved egg and lean meat porridge in the bowl, with a puzzled tone. Cousin Wan Yen, you call me a white-eyed wolf? I'm curious, why did I push myself down the stairs? Although she did drop it herself. Wan Yen was slightly stunned, and hurriedly defended, cousin, I didn't scold you. Wan Shuling frowned and looked at Gu Yang, but she didn't stop Gu Yang from saying, you just said that the adopted daughter of the Gu family is a white-eyed wolf. Unfortunately, I am the adopted daughter of the Gu family. Gu Jin is the real daughter of the Gu family. Wan Yan's eyes widened in surprise. The people at the dining table were shocked, they never thought that Gu Yang would reveal the inside story. Wan Shuling didn't want to be cruel to Gu Yang, so she glared at Gu Jin. Yang, did Gu Jin force you to say that? You are the daughter of the Gu family. It has nothing to do with my sister. Gu Yang held Wan Shuling's hand, looked into her eyes with clear and vivid eyes, and said softly, Mom, I've thought about it for a long time, and I think it's unfair to my sister. Although my sister and I were wrongly hugged when we were born, we are both innocent, but after all, I have occupied the magpie's nest for so many years, and instead of my sister, I have enjoyed the rich life of the Gu family and your love. Now that my sister is back, I can't just let my mistakes go, and still occupy my sister's identity with peace of mind. My sister has suffered for so many years, we have to make up for her, and we can't let her go home and be wronged. Mom, don't worry, although I am not born to you and Dad, I will remember your kindness and nurturing, still treat you as parents, and will repay you well in the future. There was silence in the living room, no one thought that Gu Yang would say this in public. End of this chapter. Transmigrating as the younger sister of a Bigshot with multiple identities. Chapter 6, Yang Yang is really lucky. Chapter 6 Yang Yang is really lucky. Feng Ju lowered his eyebrows, as if he didn't care about anything. Gu Jin leaned against the back of the chair, staring at the coffee in her hand, thoughtfully. Wan Yen never expected to come to Gu's house and hear such explosive news. Jincheng knew that the Gu family had adopted an adopted daughter from an orphanage in the countryside, and some people even wondered if it was Gu Xiaoming's illegitimate daughter, but they didn't expect it to be the real daughter of the Gu family. Her eyes fell on Gu Yang, with a somewhat unclear meaning. Therefore, Gu Yang, who usually has a sense of superiority in front of her, is a fake daughter who wants to occupy the magpie's nest. Gu Yang is also really stupid, to not hide things that are not good for her, but to speak out on his own initiative. When the time comes, the Xue family will find out, and they don't know whether the marriage between the two families is still going to be counted. Wan Yen felt a little happy in her heart, and asked pretending not to understand, what is my cousin talking about, why can't I understand? Gu Yang sneered in his heart. The original body's worries do exist. If her identity as a fake daughter is exposed, the attitudes of some people around her will indeed change. But at this moment, Gu Jin, who was staring at the coffee, suddenly chuckled, you must be stupid. Wan Yan's face froze slightly. Gu Jin, what do you mean? A country bumpkin dares to be so crazy, do you really think that being the real daughter of the Gu family is a big deal? If the Gu family really valued her, it would be impossible not to disclose her identity. Gu Yang glanced at Wan Yen in surprise, with an expression of, you don't even know what this means, cousin Wan Yen, you really should study more. Even Wan Shuling cast a sneaky glance at Wan Yen, feeling that what Gu Yang said made sense. After all, Wan Yen dropped out of school and did not study much. Wan Yen. Too angry to speak. Wan Shuling was silent for a long time after listening to Gu Yang's words, feeling helpless in her heart. Yang Yang told Wan Yen, an outsider, about his wrongdoing. Even if the Gu family didn't make it public at that time, the Jincheng wealthy circle would know about it. Although they regard Yang Yang as their own daughter, in the eyes of outsiders, an adopted daughter is not as good as a real daughter. Wan Shuling glanced at Wan Yen and the servants of the Gu family, held Gu Yang's hand, and said solemnly, "No matter what, Yang Yang, you are the daughter of our Gu family. Your father and I will take care of this matter. Worry." Gu Yang smiled and nodded to Wan Shuling. She deliberately told Wan Yen about the wrong thing, otherwise even if she told Gu father and mother that she would disclose her and Gu Jin's identities, they would not make it public. It is not only out of protection for her, but also out of maintaining the face of the Gu family. But she is not her original body, so she cannot occupy Gu Jin's identity with peace of mind. Hearing Wan Shuling's words, Wan Yen slightly tightened her hand on the bag, and a trace of envy flashed across her eyes covered by long eyelashes. Gu Yang is really lucky. However, it is also good for Gu Yang to be favored. Thinking of the purpose of her coming to Gu's house this time, Wan Yan's eyes flickered, followed Gu Yang who was walking in the garden, and talked to Gu Yang casually. "By the way, Yang Yang, I heard that uncle's recent investment in talking about Sangama with wine also invited the best actor Ji." She sighed with some regret, "Speaking of which, I'm still a fan of best actor Ji. It's a pity that I haven't had the chance to meet best actor Ji since I entered the circle." Talking about Sangma with Wine is a variety show invested by Gu Xiaoming with the theme of rural life. The previous 2 seasons were extremely popular, and many artists became popular. End of this chapter. Transmigrating as the younger sister of a Bigshot with multiple identities. Chapter 7, Heartbroken Gu Yang. Chapter 7, The Heartbroken Gu Yang. It stands to reason that such resources are not her turn, but every time she acts helpless and pitiful in front of Gu Yang will show her sense of superiority and help her obtain this resource. Although Wan Yen envied Gu Yang's charity-like behavior, she needed it exactly. Gu Yang was walking on the cobblestone path in the garden, the morning sun shone on her body, giving her a soft light. Hearing Wan Yan's words, she looked up at her with pity and said, "It's okay, cousin Wan Yen, it's normal if you don't see Ji Yingdi, after all, you don't have enough cafes right now." Wan Yen. Not enough cafes. Can Gu Yang speak? She hinted so much, why did she give her such a heart-wrenching sentence? Wan Yen hated secretly, took a deep breath, took out a box of skin care products from her bag, and smiled on her heavily made-up face. "By the way, cousin, I heard that the skin care product I gave you last time was touched by a little beast. It's broken, and this time I brought another set specially." Gu Yang frowned imperceptibly. "Little bastard, are you talking about Feng Ju?" Yuanchen and Wan Yen have a good relationship and are cousins, but they called Feng Ju "little beast" in front of Wan Yen. Gu Yang accepted the skin care products. "Then I would like to thank cousin Wan Yen." Wan Yan's eyes lighted slightly, thinking that even Gu Yang had accepted her gift, he would agree to help her mention this matter in front of Gu Xiaoming, right? However, a minute goes by. 2 minutes passed. A full 10 minutes passed, but Gu Yang didn't mention this matter. Just when Wan Yen couldn't help but wanted to tell Gu Yang clearly, Gu Yang raised his hand and glanced at his watch, before she said, "Cousin Wan Yen, I'm going to practice piano in the piano room." Wan Yen. Wan Yen looked at Gu Yang's back, couldn't help but squeeze her bag tightly, and didn't sneer until she got out of Gu's villa. In the past, Gu Yang was the real daughter of the Gu family and she just endured it, but now she is a fake and still so arrogant. Thinking of this, Wan Yen picked up the phone. The Gu family is a wealthy family in Jincheng, and they attach great importance to the cultivation of their children. Therefore, in addition to ensuring the basic learning, Gu Yang has to learn music, dance, calligraphy, etiquette, etc. since he was a child. It is not necessary to be fully proficient, but you have to be familiar with it to avoid being out of touch when socializing with other wealthy ladies. Of course, Gu Yang was the daughter of a top wealthy family before wearing the book, and he learned more from elementary school than what the original body learned in the Gu family, but there are some differences from what the original body learned. Take musical instruments for example. Before transmigrating the book, Gu Yang mainly studied folk music, guzheng and qin, while Yuan Chen mainly studied piano. Gu Yang pushed open the door of the piano room. The first thing he saw was not the room full of musical instruments, but Gu Jin sitting in front of the piano. The lights in the piano room were not turned on, and the curtains were closed tightly, making it a little dark. Gu Jin, who was wearing a black dress with suspenders, almost merged with the pitch-black piano. If her arms and neck were not so strikingly white, Gu Yang would not be able to see her at a glance. Gu Yang frowned, feeling a bit depressing in such an environment. So she walked over and opened the curtains, revealing the blue sky, white clouds and green tree branches outside the window, and the sun shone into the piano room, brightening the room. Gu Jin looked up, with a lazy expression. Why? The boss spoke concisely, and the question seemed nonsensical, but Gu Yang understood it. Gu Jin was asking her why she gave up framing her last night, and why she admitted that she was a fake daughter this morning. Of course Gu Yang can't say, I'm wearing a book, you are all characters in the novel, I know you are a boss, I can't afford to mess with you, of course, no one will believe me. So he said casually, probably because of a fall, I corrected my 3 views. End of this chapter. Transmigrating as the younger sister of a Bigshot with multiple identities. Chapter 8, What happened to the trending search? Chapter 8, What happened to the hot search? Gu Yang observed Gu Jin, and found that the boss didn't care about this cold joke. Gu Jin's gaze fell on the skin care product in Gu Yang's hand, and only then did his eyes change, and he stretched out his hand and said, give me that skin care product. Gu Yang looked dumbfounded, the boss is still short of a set of skin care products. Seeing that Gu Yang hesitated, she narrowed her phoenix eyes and sneered, why, you don't even want to give me a set of skin care products, but you are willing to give me the identity of the daughter of the Gu family. Gu Yang stared at Gu Jin, and suddenly asked, sister, did you see something wrong with this skin care product? Gu Jin paused slightly with her slender fingers caressing the black and white keys, but her pitch-black eyes still didn't see any waves. Although the boss has almost no micro-expressions, she, who was a top international psychologist before Chuan Shu, has a strong sixth sense. Intuition is precise. And her intuition told her that she was right. Also, the boss doesn't even disdain the identity of the daughter of the Gu family, how could he be inferior to this set of skin care products? It's just. She knew there was a problem with this skin care product because she remembered the plot of the novel, and the boss can see that there is a problem with this skin care product through the packaging. Gu Jin got up and walked to the window, turned up and sat by the window, looking at the landscape of the villa garden outside the window. Aren't you going to practice the piano? Gu Yang looked at Gu Jin inquisitively, and obediently sat down in front of the piano. Oh. She remembered that in the novel, the boss didn't meddle in other people's business, looking for the skin care products from Yuan Yen. Because the remedy she made worked. Gu Yang's lips raised slightly. The midsummer sun is shining brightly, the branches outside the window are densely covering the sky, the bright piano sound is flowing briskly, and even the chirping of cicadas among the branches and leaves is quiet. Sunlight penetrated through the gaps in the branches and leaves and fell on her face, leaving sparse spots of light. Gu Jin's eyelashes moved slightly, the sun was dazzling in her eyes, she raised her hand to cover it slightly, only then was she surprised to find that she was sleeping with the cicadas singing to the sound of Gu Yang's piano just now. She seemed to have not fallen asleep so peacefully for a long time. Gu Yang casually played a song before stopping. Her piano level is not as good as the original bodies, it's just an amateur level, but maybe because she often plays the piano for psychotherapy, the sound of the piano she plays casually is also gentle and healing. And at this time, downstairs, Feng Ju, who was leaning against the window, also slowly opened his eyes, those clear and still water eyes seemed to be stained with the midsummer sunshine. It was as if a ray of light shone into the bottomless abyss of the ice field. Gu Yang looked at Gu Jin, although he was playing tricks in front of the boss, but he wanted to know the boss's evaluation, so he asked, sister, how do I play? Gu Jin glanced at her lightly, jumped out of the window, and left the piano room, with a lazy and sleepy tone, it's okay, practice more. Gu Yang. She brought shame upon herself. This night, some people in the villa rarely had a good sleep. In sleep, the cicadas sing lightly, and the summer breeze is cool. Gu Yang was woken up the next day by the continuous vibrating sound of her mobile phone. She opened the screen in sleepy eyes, only to realize that it was not an alarm clock, but a bombardment of information from WeChat and other software 99+. There are even more than a dozen missed calls. At this time, there happened to be an incoming call, and Gu Yang clicked on it before he could see who it was. From the other end came the boy's slightly cold questioning voice, Gu Yang, what's going on with the hot search? Although the voice was nice, the tone made Gu Yang even more angry when he got up. She hung up the phone directly, only to notice that the caller was called Xue Duo. On the other end of the phone, Xue Duo looked at the phone screen in astonishment. Gu Yang actually hung up on him. End of this chapter. Transmigrating as the younger sister of a Bigshot with multiple identities. Chapter 9, Kiss with Xue's doll. Chapter 9 and the doll of the Xue family. Xue Duo dialed the number just now again in disbelief, but the number you have dialed cannot be reached. Gu Yang resolutely turned off the phone to catch up on sleep, and waited for her to wake up before talking about anything. She stayed up all night when she first got dressed, so that she slept until 11 o'clock. After coming out of the cloakroom, Aunt Li told her, Miss, Master Xue Duo and Mrs. Xue from the Xue family are here. Gu Yang vaguely remembered that she answered a phone call in the morning, and it was from Xue Duo. At that time, her consciousness was hazy, but now she remembered who Xue Duo was. The Xue family is also a rich family in Jincheng, and even better than the Gu family. Before Gu Yang was born, Xue's family and Gu's family made a verbal baby kiss. In recent years, the Gu and Xue families have indeed intended to have a commercial marriage. So, Xue Duo is her fiancé. No, to be precise, it should be Gu Jin's fiancé. In the novel, the original body has a good impression of Xue Duo. After knowing her identity as a fake daughter, she feels that the Gu family treats her worse than before, and complains about the Gu family, so she does everything she can to marry Xue Duo, even betraying the Gu family. In the end, the Gu family was destroyed, and the property of the Gu family was annexed by the Xue family. Of course, the Xue family fought against the hero and heroine, and it didn't end well. Gu Yang clicked on WeChat, swiped down, glanced at it briefly, and basically asked her about the most popular things. She opened Weibo, and the first hot search item was Hashtag Great Family Secret V, shocked. The blood of a wealthy family, a civet cat for the prince. The little princess of Zhaofeng Entertainment, the talented pianist Gu Yang, is actually a fake daughter who was wronged. And the real daughter was left in a rural orphanage for 17 years. It is reported that the real daughter of the Gu family has been taken back, but the Gu group seems to have no intention of disclosing the identity of the real daughter. Pleasant Goat is triumphant, what a big melon. It smells like a conspiracy. The monster was captured by the master, the fake daughter has occupied the magpie's nest for so many years, but she still has the nerve to continue to occupy her identity. Face. After all, the Gu family is a wealthy family in Jincheng. Are they so confused? At V. Schrodinger's dog V, maybe the Gu family is preparing to make it public. Hold on. The secret of the wealthy family is a big V who specializes in breaking the news about the incidents of the wealthy family. As long as there is evidence, he dares to disclose anything, and has a high degree of credibility. Moreover, netizens are already interested in the affairs of wealthy families, and Mega Entertainment is one of the 4 major entertainment companies in China, and they are often active on Weibo, so the popularity of this matter is very high. When something like this happens, the Gu family will definitely push the trending search, but this trending search is now listed, which shows that someone is behind the scenes. Gu Yang thoughtfully went downstairs. Yang, come and see your Aunt Xue and brother Xue Duo. Wan Shuling beckoned Gu Yang to sit down. The mother and child are sitting on the opposite sofa. Gu Yang greeted them politely. Madame Xue nodded to Gu Yang, with a slightly superior attitude. As for Xue Duo, he just scoffed lightly, without even looking at Gu Yang, with an arrogant and contemptuous attitude. Wan Shuling has a fiery temper, but the Gu family is a bit shorter in front of the Xue family, and she has to lower her posture. Mrs. Xue, although Yang is not born to me and Zhao Ming, she is still the daughter of our Gu family. Mrs. Xue interrupted Wan Shuling's words, and said with a smile, Mrs. Gu, I also like Yang very much, but you also know that marriages of wealthy families focus on blood status. To put it mildly, but in fact it means that Gu Yang, a fake daughter, can't compete with the young master of their Xue family. Wan Shuling's face was ugly, of course she knew it, that's why she didn't want to disclose the identities of Gu Jin and Gu Yang, because she was afraid that Gu Yang would lose his engagement with Shue's family. End of this chapter. Transmigrating as the younger sister of a big shot with multiple identities. Chapter 10, there must be a degree in playing hard to get. Chapter 10, playing hard to get. What's more, about the Gu family, there is a lot of noise on the internet. It seems that it is not good to give Yang Yang the marriage contract that originally belonged to Gu Jin. Mrs. Shui said without changing her smile. Wan Shuling frowned slightly. So you want Gu Jin and Shui Duo to get engaged? Yang Yang is not good enough for Shui Duo, so Gu Jin, a wild girl who grew up in the countryside, is good enough for Shui Duo. Wan Shuling even suspected that the things on the internet were created by Gu Jin, in order to steal Yang Yang's identity and marriage contract. Mrs. Shui took a sip of tea. The children are all in high school, so there is no rush to get engaged. I am here today just to confirm whether the things on the internet are true on behalf of Shue's family. After all, this engagement was made when the old man was there. Vague. By the way, didn't your family take Gu Jin back? Why don't you come out to meet guests? Mrs. Shue's eyes were slightly contemptuous. I heard that Gu Jin grew up in the countryside. In her opinion, she is not as good as Gu Yang, an adopted daughter. When Gu Jin was mentioned, Wan Shuling's face became even more ugly. Xiao Jin went out early in the morning. Mrs. Shui nodded and didn't stay any longer. After exchanging greetings, she took Shui Duo and left. Shui Duo didn't say a word from the beginning to the end, but before he left, he frowned and looked at Gu Yang, seeming a little displeased. Gu Yang. Apart from hanging up his phone, she didn't do anything to him, did she? Shui Duo walked very slowly, and kept looking at the WeChat chat interface with Gu Yang. Seeing that Gu Yang didn't chase him out or send him a message until he left the Gu family villa, he couldn't help feeling a little irritable. Doesn't she like him? If you want to play hard to get, you have to have a degree. Why is she not in a hurry now that the engagement is about to end? Shui Duo sneered. He wouldn't take the initiative to talk to Gu Yang. A few minutes later, Shui Duo sent Gu Yang a WeChat message with a cold face. Gu Yang, why did you hang up on me in the morning? However, a minute goes by. 2 minutes passed. Half an hour passed. WeChat still has no reply, not even a "the other party is inputting" has not appeared. As soon as Shue's mother and son left, Wan Shuling was so angry that she threw the tea set on the ground, and after venting her anger, she turned to Aunt Li and said, "Go and get Gu Jin back for me." Yang Yang kindly gave her the identity of the real daughter, but she still behaves like this. I don't know what's good and what's wrong, and even made a fuss on the internet, causing Yang Yang to be raped by the internet, and even lost her engagement with Shue's family. Mom. Gu Yang held Wan Shuling's hand and handed her a cup of tea. His tone was gentle and soft, with some softness that had just woken up. Mom, don't get angry and ruin your body. Hearing Gu Yang's voice, Wan Shuling's anger was also calmed down a little. She drank the herbal tea that Gu Yang handed over to calm her anger, and looked at Gu Yang worriedly. Yang Yang, don't read Weibo just yet. Mom and Dad will take care of these things. On the side of the Shui family, Mom and Dad will help you fight for this marriage. Gu Yang shook his head. Mom, no need, I don't like Shui Duo, and this marriage doesn't belong to me. Wan Shuling didn't believe it, and her daughter couldn't hide her liking when she saw Shui Duo's eyes all the time. Yang Yang, you don't need to back down on this matter. I want to ask Gu Jin, where did he get the face to rob his sister, fiancé? Gu Yang wanted to say that the boss still doesn't like Shui Duo. Gu Yang whispered softly, Mom, my sister just came back, and she doesn't even know about the marriage between the Gu family and the Shui family, so how could she plan to the marriage contract? It has been rewritten, and the content and introduction have been changed. End of this chapter.